I want to talk about what is a homeopathic medicine. Many doctors look at it as a placebo, but in fact, it is something that can really change your life. Homeopathic means similar to pathology. When you give something similar to what you're suffering from, it allows the brain to work with the medicine to make that change. They are all natural. They're made from plant derivative or commonly from mineral derivative. Homeopathic takes it into a dilution that firstly makes it very safe. It is natural, but it takes it in the dilution to become what's called nanopharmacology. It makes that medicine an electrical substance that can communicate with the inner part of the brain. And that's how we make those wonderful changes that I'm talking about. You can only treat the inner part of the brain with an electrical substance. All of medicine is going to go in the future away from the chemical pill and into electrical treatments. This system has been used for 200 years. There may be other systems that will come in the future, but for now it is the safest, the most effective, and it's natural. It goes to a part of the brain and it asks the brain to unload negative memory. So we choose the substance. They are commonly in liquid or pill form. We choose a substance from either the plant or the mineral category, most commonly, that feels the same way you do in the inner part of the brain if we would give it to you in too high of a dose. So we give it to you in a very small dose, almost like you would think of a vaccine. Except instead of a vaccine for a disease, it's a remedy that rids the body and the brain of what doesn't belong in there. Perhaps it's the buildup of too much mucus in the case of asthma. Perhaps it's a dilated blood vessel in the case of migraine. Or in the case of mood swings, it's from the flipping of too much voltage in the brain, similar to seizure disorder. And if it's fibromyalgia or body pains, it could be from weakness or from too much tightness. So we use an extract that in a high dose would produce that tightness, but we reverse it or we antidote that with a very diluted formula from that very substance. That's what the word homeopathic means. You give a substance similar to the pathology or the disease state. What this graphic shows you is that success of treatment is very dependent on accuracy. Stronger responses are felt in a person when correct information is accounted for in the homeopathic. The practitioner's ability to fit the prescription is dependent on the completeness of this person's history. And when not fit accurately, you get little or no responses, such as here or here. If we overshoot the problem with the prescription or undershoot, you still don't get side effects, but you often get no response. If we get it right in the center, you get this 80 to 100% response in resolution of your problem within 2 to 4 months. That's for things that are not so complicated. More complicated conditions can take anywhere from 1 to 2 years, depending. Things like bipolar disease or things like severe colitis or something like that can take longer. But most people's problems can resolve in very short periods of time if we hit this center part right here. If we go outside, you get a 50% response. 50% of the condition will improve. It will take a little bit longer. 20% or no response. If you get no response, the prescription is changed quickly at the 4 to 6 week mark. If it does hit into the center response, it's something that will make you feel very, very well within weeks of the initiation of the treatment. The practitioner's ability to perceive what is truly wrong with the person's ability to communicate what's truly wrong inside, and often people discover things about what they're feeling while they're sitting in the very chair in my office. That's what makes the mystery not so much of a mystery. By the time people are done with that interview, they've discovered why they're getting their migraines so often, why that stomach is giving you so much trouble, or why that back pain after surgery is not healing, and we have an answer for that. People often ask, how long does it take for the treatment to work? In this schematic, there's ups and downs of treatment. Mostly it goes on the up. The down is when the system is trying to get something out, and you don't always feel well in that phase. It often lasts just for a couple of days, but once you're free of it, you come up into what's called a peak. The peak is where you're free of something inside. It could be a heavy feeling like depression. It could be a contracted feeling like tightness and tension. An anger feeling that produces inflammation and acids in the body. Or it could be anxiety, which causes a feeling of overwhelm and constantly being out of control. When you are free of that feeling, it is a delightful feeling. It's a feeling of calmness, peacefulness, and just good, pure energy. At that point, when you have these peaks occurring, you eat less. It's no different than feeling what we call the love diet. When you first fall in love, the last thing on your mind is eating. When you have this feeling inside of you of love for the self, love for life, love for every day you live, the last thing you think about is using addictive substances, mind-altering substances. When body pains decrease, you eat less also, because all that frustration, aggravation causes people to eat wrong, sleep wrong, and have poor relationships in their life. When you complete this curve, which for some is just a matter of 3 to 6 months, for others it can be 2 to 3 years, depending how severe their problem is. But once you get to the end, the treatment is finished. It does not have to continue past that, because you've actually fixed something inside the person, not just used a Band-Aid approach that's just a drug that just covers up the symptom, and as soon as you stop that drug, your problem has come back. This makes your brain and immune system work to change the way it functions inside. So once you're at the top of this curve, treatment stops.